Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to today's live. So, my name is Seth Perry, and this is Our Stigma. This is my YouTube channel, and I'm grateful for everyone for being here. All 0 people that are watching this right now. Yeah. Let's just wait and see if anyone comes into the stream. Well, let me see. Okay. Okay. So, my name is Seth, and this is the YouTube channel called Our Stigma. And I love this channel. I'm here all the time. You maybe have seen my short videos. You've maybe seen some other live videos that I've done. And today, I'm going to be discussing 100 strategies and tips that could help you stay well. So what I've done today is I have asked ChatGPT to provide me 100 mental health tips for someone with bipolar disorder. So if you didn't know this about me, I live well with bipolar disorder. I've been doing that for 14 plus years, and it's going pretty good. It's going. I haven't had to go back to the psych ward for over 14 years, and yeah, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, and so yeah, today basically I've got 100 pieces of advice from ChatGPT that can help me stay well as someone with bipolar disorder. So why don't we just get into the advice? So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to read a piece of advice. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And hey, Fortnite King, how you doing? Tell me how you are and how your Friday afternoon is going. We're going to be looking at mental health advice from ChatGPT, and we'll be ranking them. And I have 100 pieces of advice from ChatGPT about mental health. Hi, Zayan Asan. Hello, how are you doing? From jw.org. Are you a Jehovah's Witness? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe just tell me how you're doing. And who wants to hear the first piece of mental health advice? If you do, say so in the chat. And also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to Our Stigma, the channel you're watching today. Fortnite King, I'm glad that you're doing good. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. This stream, Jack, is about mental health advice by ChatGPT. So, Jack, our first piece of mental health advice is number 1, consistent sleep schedule. ChatGPT says aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Okay, well, that's pretty basic advice, and it's definitely difficult. And Fortnite King, thank you for subscribing. Make sure you hit like as well. And everyone all 19 of you watching today, make sure you hit like as well, so we get more people in here and we can chat more. How's your mental health? Tell me how your mental health is doing. And Zayan Asan, my day is going well. I've had a pretty good day. I've taken Friday off of work. Consistent sleep schedule. Aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. Well, that's actually really good mental health advice. So if you think that's good mental health advice, give me a score out of 1 to 5. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to score that out of 1 to 5. I think getting a good consistent sleep is probably very good mental health advice. I'm going to score that out of 5. Okay. And tell me, do you have some good mental health advice? Put it in the chat. Let me know. And then we can, I'll discuss it live on stream right now if you have good mental health advice. Number 2 piece of mental health advice from ChatGPT is a healthy diet. Eat balanced meals with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Oh, and Fortnite King says, do I have ADHD? I live well with bipolar disorder. And I'm wondering, maybe Fortnite King, would you like to share if you also live with a mental health condition? It's really awesome if you were to able to share live that you do. So Fortnite King, if you do, that's cool. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Do you live with a mental health condition like ADHD? Thanks for sharing if you do. And Ziana San says 5 out of 5 for sure. Okay, good. Well, a healthy diet. Again, yeah, that's good mental health advice. It's kind of interesting that, artificial intelligence, chat GPT has told me to eat balanced meals with plenty of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. That's something that my mom did my entire life. And that's something that every psychiatrist has done for me. So I'm going to score that out of 5. Okay, so, and just so you know, I'm totaling all of these up at the end, and then I am going to actually divide it by 100, and we'll get a percentage. So Val is your pal. Welcome to the stream. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Val is your pal, so more people can join. And Val is your pal just said, just like how social media has its own algorithm and shows you more of what you're interested in. You like that? Okay. The entire universe is also has an algorithm and shows you more of what you're thinking, feeling, and focusing on. Okay, well, Val's your pal. Thank you very much. And Fortnite King has just said, I have ADHD and anxiety and autism. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everyone publicly. I think that's awesome. That's what this YouTube channel is about. It's about breaking the stigma of anything. And I am Blep says, womp not womp. Fortnite King. Well, I am Blep. If you're being negative, we don't like any negative people in the stream. I like to support someone who's open about their mental health conditions and other neurodivergent type of diversity that they've got going on in their life. So we don't need to listen to you, I am Blep, but you can still like, subscribe. So again, if you're new here, if you just got on, we are looking at 100 strategies and tips from ChatGPT about mental health advice. We're moving on to our 3rd piece of advice. And Jolin Sungrim, welcome. He says also ADHD and autism here. Jolin, thank you for being open about your neurodivergence on the internet. That's awesome. If you like that kind of stuff, hit like and subscribe. There's some interesting stuff on my channel already. And Val's your pal says, I used to be an energy vampire until I landed into some wisdom. Okay, well, I've only heard about energy vampires on a TV show called What We Do in the Shadows, but interesting, very interesting. Thank you, Val. So, number 3 piece of mental health, and don't be sorry, Fortnite King, for sharing about your struggles. Please continue to share about your struggles. You're totally welcome to do that here. Everyone, this is a place, it's a safe place to do that, okay? Anyway, we'll move on to our 3rd piece of advice. Right now, we're 5 for 5 out of all of them. And so here we go. We're going to go with our 3rd piece of advice. Regular exercise. Aim for at least 30 minutes of physical activity most days. That's a lot. 30 minutes of physical activity. I do walk my dogs quite regularly, and I play basketball and I play soccer. And that works for me, and it does help my mental health. Like I said, I have bipolar disorder, and I've lived well with bipolar disorder for 14 years. Okay, so Zion Asan says, I'm sorry to hear that Fortnite King has ADHD, and it's not a whole bunch of fun. It must be 10 times harder with other neurodiversities and mental health conditions, but I'm glad you have enough courage to share. It is cool. Thank you for sharing. And Fortnite King says thanks. I'm glad that people are interacting with each other in the chat, and that's great. And Val says I love to dance 2 to 3 times a week. Well, that's good. That's physical exercise. So you tell me what you think. Regular exercise, 1 out of 5. How is that piece of advice? Aim for at least 30 minutes of physical activity most days. Well, tell me what you think. I'm going to score that 5 out of 5. Again, it's good advice. Get active. It helps with my mental health. I know that. All right. Then stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water throughout the day. That's our number 4 piece of advice. I'm drinking water right now. My wife can tell when I have not had enough water to drink. She's like, Seth, here you go. Drink some of this water. Absolutely. That is a very important tip, to drink water. And if you like mental health tips, make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. This channel is called Our Stigma, and we talk about breaking the stigma of mental health. I talk about it every week on my lives and on my short videos. I do a lot of shorts. So yeah, go ahead, like and subscribe, and join the conversation about mental health. So stay hydrated, drink plenty of water throughout the day. All right. So again, 4th tip, and I'm going to have to give that another 5 out of 5. Wow. I didn't know I'd be given such good scores today. So let's see. And Val says, we all battle wars that aren't truths, right? We are not what we are thinking. Okay. Thank you, Val. And Fortnite King says, I'm the most unconfident person ever. Well, Fortnite King, I thought that when I was younger. I'm 43 years old now, and I struggled with mental health in high school, and it was a difficult challenge for me throughout high school. And it was difficult through university. My mental health condition challenged me all the way through till when I was 29. And then I found a foundation, and I began to move forward with confidence. And it took a while. So no one should really ever give up on themselves because you're struggling now. Just know that you can find the tools to make your future better. And that's really what we do on this channel, and what I do every week. I live stream every week. I make short videos. And if you are passionate about mental health, definitely remember to subscribe today. And you know what? Val just popped in the chat and said that she suffers with low self-esteem, and for sure. And Jolyn says, find the tools. It gets better for sure. Jolyn, thank you so much. That's great advice. We can all, kind of encourage Fortnite King and let him know, yo, it's an all right world out there. It'll get better. I think one of the best sayings that I learned when I was going into mental health recovery is, this too shall pass. Okay. All right. So we're moving on to our another piece of advice. So this next piece of advice is limit caffeine and sugar. What's your piece of advice about mental health? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Join the conversation. Lots of people here already are talking about that. So limit caffeine and sugar. And boy, oh boy, when I started doing that, see, I'm very sensitive to caffeine. And because I have bipolar disorder, sometimes if I have caffeine later in the afternoon, it's going to disrupt my sleep. So definitely limit caffeine and sugar. These can impact mood stability. So I think it's a good piece of advice. And Hunter says, hang out with dogs. Wow, that's cool. Hanging out with dogs. I have 3 dogs, and that helps my mental health. So that's great. And Fortnite King has asked a question to everyone in the chat. Make sure that you just check in with him. And Jim, welcome to the chat. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And Jim said, my mental health issue is fixed when I realized I was broken. Good. Tell us more about what your mental health issue was, Jim, and welcome to the conversation today. So here we go. Limit caffeine and sugar. So, for everyone out there, what do you think about that piece of advice? Limiting caffeine and sugar out of 1 to 5, 1 being not so good, 5 being good. How well of a piece of advice do you think that is? And for me, let's see, limit caffeine and sugar. I'm going to give that a 4. Okay, so we'll move on. This one is the best piece of advice I could give anybody, okay? The best piece of mental health advice that I have ever gotten is this next piece of advice. Number 6, avoid alcohol and drugs, okay? I know I'm rating it out of 1 to 5, okay? But avoid alcohol and drugs. Drugs and alcohol can trigger mood swings. It says that. And for me, I never took this piece of advice and it really challenged me. Okay. So I've been sober from drugs and alcohol since April 12th, 2010. I stopped using drugs and alcohol and I struggled with them for 15 years. I was just talking to my wife and we were talking, and then she's like, wow, next year is going to be an interesting year. It's going to be as many years sober and clean off of drugs and alcohol as it was that I used them. So pretty interesting. Avoiding alcohol and drugs, what do you score that out of 1 to 5 for mental health advice? Now I'm going to go into the chat and I'll see what you have all said. So Zion says, spend time with family and don't stress about everything at once. Just one thing at a time. That's your piece of advice. Zion, thank you very much. That's great advice. And if you like this kind of advice, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And then we got Jolin. Jolin says, I have a dog and 2 cats, and it totally helps, and it's a must, especially if you feel alone and have the possibility to have your own. And so right, one thing at a time and rest. Good. And then Val, my life-changing book that I dove into was Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Well, that's a new book. I'm glad I will basically look into that and how to lose your mind and create a new one. Self-help books have worked for me. And I have a few lives that I have done that I've talked about self-help books on. Oh, and I have a few right here. This one's not a self-help book, but it's a memoir called The Tender Bar, and this is a wonderful book about alcoholism. And then another book, if you want to learn deeply about schizophrenia, this book Hidden Valley Road. These are 2 books that I've read that are great. If you like reading, I'll put them up here one more time because we're talking about reading. Fortnite King just said reading. So Hidden Valley Road and The Tender Bar by J.R. Moehringer and Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker. Check these books out if you're passionate about mental health, you want to learn. And Val says, I've been off in the forest for 6 weeks. Been off. Oh, okay. Been off of the green for 6 weeks. Good for you. Staying off of the green. Good job. Yeah. Stay off the green. Stay off of trees. That's what I do. I've been clean and sober, like I said, for 14 years. So avoid alcohol and drugs. If I could give it higher than 5 out of 5, then I would, but I have to give it a 5. So, all right. So that's what I'll give it. That gets a 5. So far, this advice has been pretty good. All right. Next, we have another piece of advice. And also Val says that they wholeheartedly believe in healthy sleep hygiene. So we're talking about mental health here, and we'll move on to our next piece of advice. Take medication as prescribed. And we have Fortnite King saying, does anyone support a religion? Well, guess what? Guess what my job is? I'm going to see if any of you can guess what my job is, what I do for a living. Everyone out there, just put it out in the chat. Guess. Looking at me, I got these tattoos. I wear a hat almost every day to work. This is what I wear to work most of the time. What do I do for a living? All right. So piece of advice, number 7 from AI. Take medications as prescribed. These are mental health advice from ChatGPT. Take medication as prescribed. Consistency is key for medication efficacy. All right, so let's see. Fortnite King says precast. No. So anyone guessing what I do for a living? No, no one has. Okay, good. Well, you can. Don't forget, it's your chance to do that. So take medication as prescribed. I'll talk about this. I've been on medication since I was 17 years old for my bipolar disorder, and taking medication as prescribed, consistency, a schedule. And Jolyn says, I can't guess. Any job, guess any job. I'll take any guess. Any guess. What do you think I do for a living? Okay, what do you think? Guess. Okay. Oh, do I work? Val says, do I work for the Seattle Mariners? No, no. So that's one wrong guess. So take medication as prescribed. Consistency is key for medication efficacy. So I take my medication as prescribed at the same time every day, sometime in between 9:30 and 10:30, and so I'm on a rigid schedule and I follow it. And you know what? It's a really good habit to have. My tats right here, there they are. Just so you are okay. So I just gave 5 out of 5 for take medication as prescribed. All right, so here are some guesses about what I do for a living. Let's see. So Val said, do you work for the Seattle Mariners? Of course, my favorite baseball team, the Seattle Mariners. Sorry. Val says, are you a fishmonger? Unfortunately, no. Zian says, are you a counselor? And I said, no. And let's see. But here we have an appropriate answer now. Appropriate, I mean, someone guessed right. Ziana said, pastor. Are you a pastor? And yes, I'm a pastor. I have bipolar disorder. I'm open with everyone that I'm a pastor of. Okay. Everyone in my church knows that I'm a recovering alcoholic, a recovering drug addict, and that I'm in mental health recovery. So I'm open about that with everyone, and I talk and lead openly, comfortably with my diagnosis being public. All right. Delicious water. All right. So we'll move on to our 8th piece of advice, and that is therapy sessions. Regularly attend, whether it's CBT or DBT or another type of therapy. Okay, so cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy or another type. And gosh, this again is another good piece of advice. So 5 out of 5 again. I have a question now from Jolyn in the chat. How do you find the courage to just be you and be open about it? Well, I have bipolar disorder. I was diagnosed when I was 17, and it took me until I was 42 years old to be open about it publicly. So it took a very long time. So the courage to be open about it happened by taking good care of myself and learning a lot about myself, my personality type, and who I was, being comfortable about my skills and gifts professionally. And it happened at the right time. And I had support from the people that were, supervising me. That were so that's where it came from. That's where I got the courage to be open. Fortnite King says, I'm depressed. Well, how about everyone in the chat right now? Give some support to Fortnite King. Definitely, Fortnite King folks can absolutely help you in the chat right now. And there's no problem right now for you, really. You got a lot of support here. And if you need more support, you can, and you're in the United States, you can always call 988 if you are depressed. 988. If you didn't know that, folks, 988. And there, Jolyn has just given you a little bit of support, Fortnite King. Make sure you connect. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, Our Stigma, make sure to like and subscribe right now. And I'll move on to our next piece of advice. Mindfulness practices. All right. Engage in mindfulness or meditation regularly. Well, that's a good piece of advice. However, if I was in a psychiatric ward, it would be difficult. So, it's a good piece of advice. It's an advanced piece of mental health advice. So, this is the first one I'm going to score a little bit lower with a 3. Okay. So, there we go. I'm tallying everything. I'm tallying everything up right now on my calculator here. So yeah, it's good to be here with all of you. If you're just joining, we're talking about mental health and pieces of mental health advice that ChatGPT has given me, and we're going to be rating them out of 5. So let's move on. Journal. Keep a mood journal to track triggers and patterns. This is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to embark on, taking regularly journaling. So again, if I'm in a psych ward, it's not going to be the best piece of advice. If I'm kind of figuring out life and everything, it's not the best piece of advice that I can really find or embrace. I don't know what I'm trying to say really, but it's tough. To journal regularly is a skill. That's what I'm trying to say. So again, I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. All right, so there we go. All right, next piece of advice is healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Set and maintain healthy boundaries in relationships. This is good in concept. Again, it is. It's excellent, but it's very hard to figure out on your own. I know that I got clean, I got sober, I went into mental health recovery, and I had no boundaries for like over a decade. So it worked. It took a very long time for me to set up and learn to keep boundaries. So that's a piece of advice that's advanced advice, I will say. And so I'll give that a 3 again. Next is stress management. Why don't you tell me in the chat right now how you manage stress? So practice stress management techniques like deep breathing or muscle relaxation. Well, I'm going to give that a 5 out of 10 because that's something that I think you can learn while you're still in a psych ward, while you're still in treatment. And it's something that I learned when I was in that place as well. All right. So we'll move into some comments. And Val says that they believe that depression is spirit struggling with your brain to protect instincts, and dream journaling. Val mentions that. And Val, have you done a lot of dream journaling too? And Jolyn says, always reach out if it's hard for just yourself to handle. Great advice too. Oh, and Fortnite King says, listen to audiobooks. Audiobooks are a great place to get mental health advice. And if you're just joining right now, we're talking mental health and stigma. And if you struggle with mental health, let us know in the chat. Join the conversation. It's a supportive environment to talk about mental health. Hit like and subscribe if you're new here. All right, good. So we're moving on to another piece of advice. And this piece of advice, I can tell already, is a 5 out of 5. It is support network. Maintain a strong support network of friends, family, or support groups. So friends, people who are going to look out for you, people who are going to tell you when they think you might be slipping, and family, people who are healthy for you and your family, and support groups. Those are places you can go at, when you're not working, and sit down and talk about mental health. And I've been involved in support groups for over 14 years. I have friends that I've been connected with for over 14 years. I still call my friend. It's Friday. I have a friend that I normally call on Friday, and I've been in contact with for that long. And we talk about mental health and addiction recovery, and we talk about it all the time. So friends, family, support groups, a support network. All right. So, which means that's a good piece of advice. It's one of my best pieces of advice. So that gets a 5. Okay. So that's a 5 out of 5. We'll move on. I see some comments. I'm going to get to them in a moment. If you've just gotten here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. We're talking about mental health and strategies for your mental health. We're also talking about mental health stigma. I'm Seth, and this is the Our Stigma YouTube channel. So join in on the chat, tell us about your life, and tell us about what you do for good mental health. All right, number 14, routine. Stick to a daily routine and maintain stability. Are we repeating things a little bit, ChatGPT? Consistent sleep schedule and routine are pretty close. So unfortunately, that's going to get a 1 from me. I'm going to score that 1 out of 5. Okay. So if you have any advice, make sure give me your mental health advice. What works for you? So we'll move on to our next thing, hobbies. Engage in hobbies that bring you joy and relaxation. Okay. That's good. I'm going to give that a 4 out of 5. So that's pretty good advice, I think. And let's move on. Oh, here we go. I've got a few screens in front of me right now, and it says, for my mental health, limit screen time. And what do my loved ones tell me? Limit screen time for good mental health. All right, that's good advice. I'll take that. Absolutely. It's kind of interesting that AI is telling me to limit screen time. That's an interesting thing. Very good. Very good. So we'll move on, and welcome to the chat. If you've gotten here, let us know who you are. And I'm going to take a few comments too. Jolyn, always good advice from Jolyn. Sometimes it's not your fault. If someone can't help you, just keep trying and someone will for sure help you, even if it's hard. Thank you for that piece of advice. And Val is your pal, says, I'm 46 years old and I push myself to leave my people-pleasing life behind. Oh, wow. Yeah. People-pleasing is a difficult thing to leave behind. And then Jolyn says, it's just fun if people write here, so please do. Excellent. Okay, so we'll move right on to we're moving right on to the next 2 pieces of advice, and they're decent pieces of advice. We're getting advice from ChatGPT about mental health. I have 100 pieces of advice, and I'm on number 17 and 18. Number 17 and 18 are incredibly alike. 17, it says sunlight exposure, and 18 says vitamin D. So get regular exposure to natural light. And 18 says vitamin D, consider a supplement if you're not getting enough sunlight. Okay, sure. So both of those are going to get a 2. Okay, so that's what they'll get because they're exactly the same. So we'll move on to piece of advice number 19. Oh, grounding strategies. Val, excellent. Great. And Jolyn says that they are 26, and I'm glad that you're thinking about your mental health at that age. It's excellent. So a lot of different ages. Val says that they are 46 years old. So maybe everyone is just introducing themselves to each other in the chat, which it's great. Keep chatting with each other. And hello, God's Plan. Welcome to the chat, and I'm glad you're here. Make sure to hit like if you've just arrived, God's Plan. We're going with mental health advice from ChatGPT, and number 19 piece of advice from ChatGPT is omega-3 fatty acids. Use them. Incorporate these daily into your diet, either through food or supplements. When I went to treatment, I went to a drug and alcohol treatment center. They gave supplements, which was salmon oil in supplements, and those supplements would help you sleep and help you regulate your mood. So again, that's a good piece of advice. That's a 5 out of 5. All right, we'll move on. Regular checkups. Visit your healthcare provider regularly. Great piece of advice. I do it, and we'll go +5. All right, so God's Plan. Thanks for the question. Am I a therapist or something? No, I have lived experience with mental health. I have been in mental health recovery for 14 years. I have bipolar disorder, and so I have stayed out of the psych ward for 14 years, and I'm an advocate for mental health, and I'm here on this channel called Our Stigma, where I reduce the stigma of mental health by talking about it. And that's what we've been doing today in the chat for the last half hour, and I'll be on for another little while here, so make sure you hit like and subscribe, and thanks for the question. So we'll move on. Number 21. Piece of advice number 21. We're going to go and do rapid fire for 10 pieces of advice right now. I'm going to go really quickly through these next ones. So let's see how I can do that. Oh, that's great. And God's plan says, I have bipolar 2. You're amazing. And then it was retracted. Well, that's okay. That's fine. If you didn't want to share that, that's fine. But thank you for letting me know. I caught that for a second, but if you didn't want to share that with everyone, I totally understand. So we're going to look at piece of advice number 21 through, let's say, 38. Okay. Number 21, avoid overcommitting, which is hard to do. Learn to say no and prevent feeling overwhelmed. Okay, good. That's hard advice, but it's good. So good. Okay. Cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. Okay. It was already mentioned. So that's getting a 1 out of 5. Identify triggers. Recognize and avoid triggers that may lead to mood swings. Okay. That's a good piece of advice. It's hard though. So I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Stay informed. Educate yourself about bipolar disorder. So this is specifically for advice for me for bipolar disorder. Okay. And I've done that in my life and it's worked out pretty good. So I'll give that a 4 out of 5. All right. And medication management. Have a plan for managing missed doses. Oof. That is difficult. So if you manage, when you miss a dose, you should figure out what you need to do. And I won't give any advice for you, but that's something you should think about and talk to your psychiatrist about if you're on regular medication, because you don't want to be off your medication. That's definitely okay. So I'll give that a 4 out of 5. Emergency plan. Develop a plan for emergencies or severe mood episodes. Excellent. Okay. I'll give that a 4 out of 5. And Val, I'll answer your question in a second. Gratitude practice. Keep a gratitude journal to provide. We just talked about journaling. So that is a repetitive piece of advice. Gets 1 out of 5 for me. It's still good. A gratitude practice and a gratitude journal is good. It's good, but getting a little repetitive here. Relaxation techniques. We have talked about those already. ChatGPT. So I'm giving you a 1 on that. Limit news consumption. Oh my gosh, how difficult is that? If you're prone to anxiety like me, I have bipolar disorder, prone to anxious thinking, then yeah, definitely you do want to reduce exposure to stressful news. Sometimes that can be a trigger for me. So I'm giving that a 5 out of 5. Okay, good. Art therapy. Engage in creative activities like painting or drawing. Okay, I did that when I was still in the psych ward, so that's a 5 out of 5 for me. Pet therapy. We've been talking about dogs all the time since maybe 25 minutes ago or so. So awesome. There we go. That gets a 5. Community involvement. Okay, I do that as well. Keep engaged in community and volunteer activities, and that has helped me in the past. That gets a 5 out of 5. Stay organized. I wish I could. I try to stay as organized as possible, and I learned skills to keep myself as organized as possible. So I'm giving that a 5 out of 5 because it's incredibly helpful. Financial management. Oh boy, that's a skill that definitely needs to be taught if you have a mental health condition. So again, that is a 5 out of 5. Healthy relationships. Cultivate positive and supportive relationships. And there we go. Rapid fire session is over. I gave that one a 5 out of 5. So let me go and see if anyone has any questions. Fortnite King is talking a little bit about grief, and I have done some videos on grief, so you can check that out on the main channel after the stream today. I have some information about grief there. And then Val says that they agree deeply with gratitude and you're thankful for your abundance of healthy knowledge. Well, thank you for that. Excellent. And if you're new here, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Have more people join in on the chat. And God's plan. Fortnite King, do you have bipolar disorder? So God's plan was is discussing a little bit about what their okay. So God's Plan has had a few struggles, and you've mentioned it in the chat. And definitely, God's Plan, if you need help today, remember you can always call 988 if you're in the US. And that is the substance abuse and mental health crisis line. And I always recommend that. So for anyone who's struggling with that, definitely. And there you go. And cats can help mental health. Look, I'm a dog guy. I got 3 dogs, but cats can help mental health. All right, so moving on. Time management. Well, we've kind of talked a little bit about time management, ChatGPT. Use tools to manage your time effectively, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's good in theory, but hard in practice. So I'm going to put, I'll give that a 1 out of 5. Why don't you tell me, anyone here who's new here, what are you struggling with today? Make sure to keep supporting each other and be positive in the chat. Really, oh, and yes, you know what? Thank you. Have I spoken about long walks in nature? I'm glad that you, Val, that you have reminded me about that. They're great. So long walks in nature, excellent. All right, so positive affirmations. We're on number 37, positive affirmations. Practice positive self-talk and affirmations. There are good sources and materials to do that. One place to find good material is through Hazelden Press. There's some always good material for there on positive affirmations. So I'll give that one a 5 out of 5. And wouldn't you know, spend time in nature to reduce stress. That's exactly what Val was talking about. That is a good mental health strategy. I'll give that a 5 out of 5. And if you're just joining the chat, make sure, if you're just joining the live stream, make sure to hit like and subscribe and introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us how you're doing. We're talking about mental health. And I will be checking in with everybody in a few moments. I'm going to go through and do 10 pieces of advice on mental health from ChatGPT, and I'll rank them 1 to 5. But also, you can share your pieces of advice in the chat right now. And I'm glad that you're here. We're talking mental health, stigma, and we'll move on to our next piece of advice. Nature walks. Spend time in nature to reduce stress. Okay, so I just did that one and I gave it a 5 out of 5. Limit social media. Okay, so ChatGPT, you've already given us that piece of advice. Crisis hotline. I've given everyone in that piece of advice. Have the number of a crisis hotline ready and available. Okay, good. And again, if you're in the United States, it's 988. 988. Relaxation music. Okay, good. That's a good piece of advice. And listen to calming music, but you can't always get calming music everywhere. I've been in the psych ward and I haven't been able to bring in my phone or anything like that. So I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Okay. So we're moving on to our next piece of advice. Essential oils. Use aromatherapy to promote relaxation. And that has worked for me in the past. What do you do to relax? Let us know in the chat what you do to relax. So good. Aromatherapy is good. I'll give that a 4 out of 5. And then let's see, we've got stay productive. Engage in activities that give a sense of accomplishment, kind of like cleaning your house, doing your dishes, maybe making a meal. That actually does help my mental health a lot. So 5 out of 5, but then you have dishes to do. I'll tell you, you got dishes to do after that. And if you're just joining the chat, we're talking mental health and mental health stigma. My name is Seth, and this is Our Stigma, a mental health channel on YouTube. And I invite you to hit like, subscribe, and introduce yourself in the chat. Our chat is all about positivity and supporting each other. All right, so I just said engage in activities that give a sense of accomplishment, and I mentioned cooking. And then it says meal planning, plan meals to ensure healthy eating habits. Well, that's a little bit of combining a few pieces of advice that ChatGPT has already given us about mental health. So I'm going to add, that's a 2 out of 5. That's what I'll say that one is. Sleep hygiene. Well, that's a repeat piece of advice from about 20 minutes ago. So I'm going to say no. It's a good piece of advice, but ChatGPT doesn't know it's being repetitive. So yeah, this is why having a real human being to get mental health advice from is a good thing. Yeah. And I'll get to some of the comments in the chat in a little bit. And if you're just joining us, we're talking mental health and mental health stigma and mental health advice. And we'll move on to, after sleep hygiene, to avoiding conflict. Avoiding conflicts, avoid situations that may lead to conflict. That is good, but it's a skill. I'm still going to give it 5 out of 5. That's good mental health advice. Healthy snacks. Keep healthy snacks on hand. Absolutely. Salty snacks are pretty bad. Sugary snacks are really bad for your mood. So, but again, it's kind of like a lot of advice that we've already had. I'm going to give that a 3 out of 5. Regular medical care. Stay on top of physical health issues. So how is that from different than seeing your medical health provider regularly? It isn't. So I'm giving it a 1 out of 5. Learn new skills. Engage in lifelong learning. Well, we've had a few pieces of advice, ChatGPT, that are a lot like that. That gets a 1 out of 5. You're stretching now. I guess asking for 100 pieces of mental health advice from ChatGPT is not necessarily the best thing to do. You're not gonna. It's gonna. We're exposing the limitations of a AI powered chat at this point. And I'm going to get to these recent comments in the chat in just a moment, but we'll move on to, let's see, I just said, learn new skills. Okay. Accept limitations, accept and work within your limitations. That is challenging. Okay. Oh, I've been challenged with my own limitations with a mental health condition, and so I've found a lot of help in therapy about that and with a support group. So yeah, I agree. Good. Spiritual practices. Engage in spiritual practices if they bring you comfort. If they bring you comfort. So I also engage in spiritual practices, meditation and prayer. I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. And positive environment. Surround yourself with positive influences. We're halfway through our advice, and a positive environment is a good piece of advice. I have some comments here. So let's see. Oh, so Val says, first thing in the morning, walk up to the mirror and speak to yourself and give praise to yourself and your dogs. Or you find a life coach. Thank you, Val, for that. And then God's plan says, me personally, I run as fast as I could when I feel overwhelmed. That helps me. Does anyone else do that? So running, that's good for your mental health. And then Val says, relaxation technique, finding solace in a green environment here in LA. Yes. And Jolyn says, that's a good idea. Go out into a green spot in nature that you go to regularly. Excellent. So God's plan is struggling a little bit. If everyone can help God's plan in the chat. And so, yeah. God's plan, if just let us know where you're located. If you are located in North America, make sure call 988 if you need someone to reach out to who is a professional. I'm not a mental health professional. I have lived experience with mental health. I live well with bipolar disorder. And for everyone here, if you're here, I'm really grateful that you're joining me on this Friday afternoon. Well, getting a lot out of today's chat. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we're going to move on with our next 10 pieces of advice from ChatGPT. And so if you're just joining, we're talking mental health stigma. My name is Seth. I live well with bipolar disorder, and this is Our Stigma, a mental health YouTube channel where I talk about my experiences living well with bipolar disorder. And if you have any advice about mental health, hit like, subscribe, and join me in the chat. and ask me any questions about mental health. Today, I'm looking at 100 pieces of mental health advice from ChatGPT, and I'm ranking them from 1 to 5, and I'm going to do pieces of advice number 52 through 62. Piece of advice number 52, positive environment. We just covered that one. Number 53, realistic goals. Set realistic and achievable goals. That's good. So one goal could be just maybe go for a walk in a green and nature environment, like people have said so far. So yeah, okay, I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. And limit high stress situations. Okay, we have just heard that ChatGPT, so that's getting a 1 out of 5. Hydrotherapy, take relaxing baths or showers. Oh, okay, good advice. Sometimes all you need to do is take a nice hot shower to relax muscles and everything. Sometimes I go to my doctor and I'm saying I'm stressed out, I'm really challenged, and they said, how about a little muscle therapy by taking a hot shower? And that does help with my mental health. Setting a little bit of time aside, taking a hot shower can relax you, and I recommend that, definitely. So that's a good piece of advice, 5 out of 5. Social support groups. Well, ChatGPT, you're being repetitive with your mental health advice. That gets a 1 out of 5. Visual reminders. Use visual reminders for positive habits. Okay, there you go. That's something that's good. We're on the right track again. That's a 5 out of 5. Mindful eating. Well, this is the third time that ChatGPT has given us mental health advice that has repeated today. So we'll give that a 1 out of 5. Balance work and life. Maintain a healthy work-life balance. True. Okay, that is good advice. And it's a good skill to learn. It's a difficult skill to learn. That's a 5 out of 5 in my books. And let's see, what do we got here? We've got read books. We've talked about that already, but I'll give that a 2 out of 5. So that, yeah, good. That's good. That's pretty good. Healthy rewards. Reward yourself for positive behavior with healthy rewards. Okay, that's okay. Here's some healthy rewards that I do. Sometimes a reward is going out and getting a nice coffee. Like my wife and I like to have oat milk lattes and iced coffee and stuff like that. So sometimes we do give ourselves rewards like that. So definitely, that's something special. So there are healthy rewards out there. Massage therapy doesn't work for everybody. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Not everyone can afford massage therapy either, but I see how that can be helpful to mental health. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Positive role models, 5 out of 5. 100%. I've had positive role models in my mental health recovery, and they have helped me. I found them in support groups. That's where I found them, in actual support groups. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. And then goal setting. Regularly set and review personal goals. Okay, I'll give that a 4 out of 5. Okay. Pretty good, pretty good. Goal setting, and then self-compassion, practicing self-compassion and kindness. Learning about that is a very hard lesson. Implementing that in your life, very difficult, but I'll give it a 4 out of 5. That's good. Limit toxins, avoid environmental toxins and pollutants. This is kind of the weirdest. Those are everywhere, man. Like, that's some interesting. I don't even know if we can actually avoid that. I mean, that's a weird piece of advice that I'm giving 1 out of 5. And finally, someone mentioned it earlier, grounding techniques. Practice grounding techniques to stay present. That's great. So that's like a meditative technique a lot of people use. So definitely grounding techniques, good for your mental health. Good advice. Okay. Laughter therapy. Watch or listen to something that makes you laugh. Here's something interesting. I don't have a good sense of humor all the time, and my wife reminds me of it. And so she's like, look, we got to watch something funny. We just watched a funny movie, Deadpool versus Wolverine. Great movie, very funny if you like that kind of stuff. And it was good to just sit back and relax and do that on my day off on Monday. So definitely laughter therapy is what they say. So I'm giving myself a 5 out of 5 for that piece of advice. Who likes to laugh here? Do you guys like to laugh? Yeah, sometimes I take myself too seriously. And then travel if you have the means to do so. Plan and take trips. And I've done that quite a bit. So good. I'll give that a 5 out of 5. I like to go on a trip. And join clubs or groups that interest you. And that's also true. I joined a sport and social club, 5 out of 5, and that was good. All right. And so I'm going to go through here and let's see here. We got some stuff here. All right. So some advice from people in the chat. Val regularly enjoys taking sips of warm drink infused with lemon and ginger. Good advice. Connect more with nature from Jolin Sundgren, all the way from Sweden today. And God's plan is scared to seek professional help. Go ahead and do it. Absolutely. Reach out, get help. I recommend everyone. Getting professional help was one of the best things that I'd ever done for my mental health. And Joel Sundgren says, go to another green place to the forest for sleep and relaxation. It helps with that. Val talking about humor and mental health. Val says, I enjoy witty sarcasm. Excellent. Great. And I'm glad everyone's so engaged in today's chat today. All right, so we're going to move on to our next 15 pieces of advice. And if you're just joining us, we're talking mental health and mental health stigma. My name is Seth. I have bipolar disorder. I'm a recovering addict. And this is Our Stigma, a YouTube channel where I talk regularly about my mental health condition and how I live well with bipolar disorder. So we'll move on. Advice number 71. Take an online course to learn new things. Okay, I'll give it 3 out of 5. That's kind of base advice. We're looking at mental health advice from ChatGPT. Well, what's good mental health advice that you have? Why don't you drop it in the chat? All right. And so family time. Spend quality time with family. I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5. Therapeutic writing. It said journaling already and everything. So, that's, sure. Okay. I'm going to give 2 out of 5 for that. Avoid procrastination. 5 out of 5. Absolutely. So definitely 5 out of 5 for that. Absolutely. Avoiding procrastination, tackling tasks promptly. That is a very good thing for mental health. Definitely. Avoid procrastination, 100%. That's something that can really sneak up on you. Absolutely. Mind-body practices. Engage in mind-body practices like Pilates. Well, it's said yoga and other things like that, right? So let's say 3 out of 5 because it's repetitive. You've already told us that, ChatGPT. Plan for downtime. Schedule regular downtime. Hey, I have regular days off where my wife and everyone else expects me to have time off. So that is very good advice. So we'll move on with that. So scheduling regular downtime, that's a 5 out of 5. Good. All right. Mindful breathing. Thank you, ChatGPT. That's good advice. Mindful breathing is good for your mental health. Healthy sleep environment. 1 out of 5. Thank you for the repetitive advice. Let's see. Healthy sleep environment. That was just what? And personal development. Okay, these are all kind of 1 out of 5s. Therapeutic games. Play games that stimulate the mind. I think it's talking about like crosswords and stuff are good for mental health. Sudoku, I guess. Okay. I'll give that a 5 out of 5. Sure. You got me on that. Healthy coping mechanisms. Develop and use healthy coping mechanisms. You've said stuff like that already, ChatGPT. ChatGPT does not have the deepest mental health advice. If you have noticed, if you've been on this chat, we've been getting mental health advice from ChatGPT. Not the best advice. All right, so we'll give that another 1 out of 5. All right. Regular breaks. Well, that's repetitive advice again, ChatGPT. You're getting stretched thin, ChatGPT, with this mental health advice that you're giving us. So we'll give it a 1 out of 5. And if you're just joining us, we're getting mental health advice from ChatGPT. My name is Seth Perry. I live well with bipolar disorder, and welcome to Our Stigma. We've been chatting a lot in the chat today. Join the chat. Tell me who you are. Introduce yourself, and we can talk about mental health. All right. Self-awareness. Increase self-awareness through reflection. That's a 1 out of 5, ChatGPT. You've given us better advice, and I expect better. Social interaction. Engage in regular social interaction. Yeah, it's definitely getting pretty stretched at this point. So I'm going to give that again. That's a 1 out of 5. Positive media. Consume positive and uplifting media. Well, that's a lot like the advice that says don't tune into news that stimulates you negatively. So I'll say that. So if you're just joining us, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Welcome to Our Stigma, a channel devoted to mental health. Tell us what you seek here. Introduce yourself. My name is Seth. Who are you? And tell us about your mental health journey and any of your perspectives on mental health. All right. So daily gratitude. Well, ChatGPT, you've already told us a little bit about daily gratitude. So that's a 1 out of 5. Ooh, it's definitely on a losing streak right now. All that good advice that it had at the beginning is getting stretched very, very thin at this point. Progress tracking. Well, you've already told us about that kind of advice. You've just sort of reworded it. Interesting. And healthy fats. Include healthy fats in your diet, like omega 3 it just told us about. Okay, so again, ChatGPT, a 1 out of 5. And welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live. My name is Seth Perry, and this is Our Stigma. This is a YouTube channel where I talk about mental health, stigma, and we chat about that. So I have bipolar disorder. I've been living well with bipolar disorder for 14 years. I'm a recovering addict, and we talk about recovery, mental health recovery, sobriety, and all types of coping strategies. And today I'm ranking the mental health advice that I've gotten from ChatGPT to see how good it is. And we've had a great discussion so far, and we're going to be doing another 11 pieces of advice here in just a moment. So welcome if you're new here, and introduce yourself in the chat. So, all right. So our next piece of advice, a very repetitive, again, piece of advice: physical checkups. Regularly check your physical health. What, with a doctor, like you told us? Piece of advice number 25, ChatGPT. Is that right? Meditative walks. We've been talking about that this whole live. People in the chat have said so much about taking mindful and meditative walks in nature, and including ChatGPT made a suggestion about that earlier. So again, repetitive advice is coming up here towards the end of all of our pieces of advice. But what's your mental health advice? Make sure to tell me in the chat so that I will include that in our live stream today. Personal projects. Work on personal projects that interest you. That's a 1 out of 5. That's pretty base. Of course, we want to do things that interest you, but that's advice that I could give to everyone. Reflective practices. Engage in reflective practices regularly. Oh my gosh, ChatGPT. Please, I got to stick a fork in you. You are done. You are done. That's a 1 out of 5. Big losing streak here at the end. This is kind of what I thought would happen, though. Yeah. Nutritionist. Hey, this is something new. Oh, finally a 5 out of 5. You've Broken the losing streak. There you go. See a nutritionist for personal advice about your diet. So yes, that's something that I had the benefit of taking advantage of, seeing a nutritionist. That was someone I worked with when I was in treatment, and that helped my mental health. So definitely, if you have a chance to work with a nutritionist. All right, so moving on, stay connected. Stay connected with loved ones. Okay, that is good advice. So we'll give that a 3 out of 5. And let's see, healthy mindset. Cultivate a healthy and positive mindset. 1 out of 5. I wonder what's going to happen here with our final score. Moderation. Practice moderation in all aspects of life. Good enough advice. And okay. And let's see another piece of advice. We're down to our last 3 pieces of advice from ChatGPT. Learn from setbacks. Learn from setbacks and view them as growth opportunities. Okay, that's 5 out of 5. Definitely. Celebrate successes. Well, you've given us that advice already. That's a 1 out of 5. And seek help when you need. Don't hesitate to seek help when you need. Okay, I'll give that a 5 out of 5 to be nice. All right, so we're going to see how well did ChatGPT do with giving us mental health advice. And let's see. It is, let's see. All right. Okay. It is 56.6% effective. ChatGPT gave us 56.6% effectiveness with advice about our mental health. So that was all right, I guess. That was all right. So here's a little bit about this channel. I talk about mental health. I talk about mental health stigma. I talk about living well with bipolar disorder. I talk about spirituality. I'm a pastor. So if you like this kind of stuff, I have plenty of videos for you to watch, and you can watch them on our Stigma regularly. They're always coming out, and it's been wonderful having you on live today. Have a wonderful day.